Good evening. Welcome to the November 17th, 2020 meeting of the Hyde Park Zoning Board of Appeals. Will each member of the board confirm that he is alone or that no one is present that may influence his vote? As called, please respond yes or no. Secretary, will you please call?
Sure,
Yes.
sorry.
Okay.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Rich Perkins, excuse me,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes. All confirmed.
Excuse me.
I have confirmed with the Zoning Board's counsel that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's March 13, 2020 Executive Order 202.1 and its extensions, which suspend certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In addition, in accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. I've done a roll call on the board members, and there's a quorum present for this meeting. I've also confirmed with the zoning secretary that this meeting has been duly noticed. We have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notice on the town's bulletin boards and news organizations, etc., and posting notice on the town's agenda center of its website. We'll now commence with the Pledge of Allegiance. Because of the audio synchronization, the only person that you may hear is me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next meeting will be held on Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. Now, those of you who follow this more carefully may notice that our November and December schedules are different than our usual fourth Wednesday, and we always do that to compensate for the holidays, as difficult as it may be this year. So may I have a motion to approve the minutes for the October 28th meeting?
I so move approval of those minutes for the October.
Okay, Dave
And I
McNary
second.
motions and Rich Perkins seconds. And will you please take a vote on that, Linda?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The first item on our agenda is Locust on Hudson, 135 Old Post Road, Statsburg, New York. This is a variance 108 4.3 G2 to allow construction within the stream corridor, change the undisturbed area from 100 feet to 0 feet for construction incursion in the waterfront district. I do not believe our applicants' representatives are going to be here this evening. Have they approached our webmaster?
They have not.
Okay, that's just want to be sure they didn't change their minds at the last minute. We're waiting for a full EAF, and we're just going to continue to wait. The next application to be discussed is Jennifer Mastrioni, and you can bring her into the meeting. 9 Gary Drive, Hyde Park, New York. This is a variance from section 108 4.3 B5 to conduct animal husbandry in a location that is less than the required 250 feet from all neighboring residences, and the storage of manure in a location that is less than the required 200 feet from all neighboring residents and from all wells in the neighborhood district. So may I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Dave
Brendan
McNary moves and Brendan Lawler seconds. And we poll the board on that, please, Linda?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes. Somebody's got some gibberish in the background.
Television.
Now, whatever it is, turn it off. So, Mrs. Mastroni, at our last meeting, I asked if you could provide the board with an estimate of how much manure would be in the manure container at any time. So what can you tell us?
So I did a little measuring
Oh,
to the
okay.
best of my ability. When I fill the coop, I don't know if I'll just go backwards in case anyone forgets. When I fill the coop, I put pine shavings in the coop. When thank you. So when I changed it last, I measured the pine shavings when fresh ones went in, and then when I took them back out, there is a mixture of like loose feed in there. There was only like a 2-pound difference going in and coming out because their droppings are like this big. So there wasn't a whole lot of actual manure if you had to like separate it, you know what I mean, from the pine shavings themselves. Not to mention like excess seed that like falls on the bottom, or if the pine shavings get wet, because sometimes they knock their water a little bit. So I tried my best to sift through it the best I could. And the bags of pine shavings themselves were like 8 pounds.
So how often will you do that? 2 pounds per change, let's say. How often would you do that in a week?
I clean the whole coop once a week, and the can gets picked up once a week as well.
Okay, so you're saying 2 pounds, roughly 2 pounds a week.
Of the actual manure, but like it's like 8 pounds for like the bag with the pine shavings and everything.
Well, from what I understand, that would be including uneaten chicken food.
I tried to sift that out. There's not too much. I mean, they get a lot of it, but I was trying to be as accurate as I could for you guys, but it was a little tricky and a little messy.
I believe it. And after I suggested to you the comparison of what the shavings weigh before and what they weigh after,
I appreciate it.
It occurred to me that the semi-liquid droppings mixed in with the wood shavings, trying to measure that would be like trying to measure taking a piece of wood and painting it and then seeing how much heavier it was when the paint dried.
Pretty much.
I think we can reasonably conclude that's a fairly scant amount of manure that we're dealing with here, that we're making a big deal out of here. But we have to do what we have to do.
That's right.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a note for the record that on November 9th, I made a visit, and I only detected a slight odor, and that was in the immediate vicinity of the chicken pen. And I have a very good sniffer. Once I got a few feet away from that, I couldn't smell a thing. So we are, I think, coming to a conclusion, which is probably good news for everybody. So let me ask if we have any further questions from the board.
No.
That's good. Do we have anyone in the Zoom waiting room who wants to speak on this application?
No, we do not.
Okay. Have we received any new public comments?
No, we have not.
Okay. And do we have any comments from the zoning officer?
She's moved.
No, no comments.
Okay. And from the attorney?
No comment.
Okay. So the public can see the details of the application by examining the plans available at the town hall at the Planning and Zoning Office. The ZBA will accept public comments for 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. So may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Jim Agarwal, motion.
Jim motions and second. Brendan
Second.
Lawler seconds. And the vote is
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
yes,
David McNary,
Yes,
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
So the next step in this process is that at our next meeting, we will have a resolution. We expect to have a resolution. And that's what we expect to do.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, somebody's got to be organized. So we will see you next month.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a
Thank you
nice
very much.
night.
Have a good night.
thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Okay, next item on our agenda is Robin Hughes G, 3 Berkshire Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York. This is a variance from section 1085.15, changing the front yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet and changing the rear yard setback from 30 feet to 27 feet for new construction between 2 existing porches in the neighborhood district. And I believe the applicant is present. I see her there. Ms. Striped something. So may I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Dave McNary motions to open, and second.
Rich,
Rich Perkins seconds, and Linda, will you please do a poll of the board on that?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
yes,
David McNary,
yes,
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, our webmaster could bring up the graphic, and I'm going to ask Mrs. Hughes G to describe the project to us.
Okay, as you can see there, in the dead center of the picture, there, on each side of that brown bush in the middle are 2 small porches. They each have a little roof over them.
Yep, we see it.
Now, my ex-husband built a deck between the 2 porches because each porch had steps going down to a cement pad that was deteriorating, crumbling. So rather than spend a few $1,000s on new cement, we just put in a deck across between the 2 porches.
So it's already done. It's in place.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
That's
just
how we
a
got it,
moment.
And then there's a set of stairs down the center of between the 2 porches going down to the walk.
Okay,
Now, I'm afraid, I don't understand the whole process myself. This is the first for me, a little nervous, but there is no change in distances from anything, if you can see. I
right.
mean, the 2 porches are there, and the porch was built in between them, not really going anywhere. Nothing was changed in a front setback or a rear setback. So I didn't understand the request for the variance.
Ms. G, is the front of the house is where the mailbox is that correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so you're not bringing out any further toward the road,
No.
nor are you going any further toward the garage, is that correct?
Or to the back fence. No, actually, I think the wooden part of the deck that was added may be sticking out 7 inches past what the cement pad was originally beneath.
Okay,
But that's it. There's no change in what the distance between the porches in the front or the porches in the back.
do we see, as we're looking at the picture, which is a good picture, the 2 roofs on the 2 porches would not change, is that correct?
No, nothing was changed. She just, it was just added to in between
Okay,
and taken off the 2 prior sets of steps from those 2 porches.
right, understand. So the deck
There's
would be
no-
at the level of the porches themselves, is
Right.
that correct?
I think there's maybe a 6-inch step down from each to the newer deck.
Okay, all right.
And
Sounds
there's
like,
no roof over the new deck.
okay,
I can understand why this would be confusing to someone who doesn't do zoning for a living or a hobby. And the reason for all this is because of the setbacks in the zoning. And anytime you're going to be doing something that's not set back far enough, then you need a variance. This is a rather interesting one. I've seen them similar before, but not one that's in the middle between a rear and a front setback. But this very typically happens with older homes that were built long before zoning, and when nobody thought anything about that sort of thing, at least in Hyde Park. I guess I wasn't there. So,
Mr.
I
Chairman,
think my husband may have measured, I mean, he measured from the deck to the shoulder.
right.
And he did include what was, I guess it's supposed to go out to the center of the road or something.
you want to explain that, Tad?
30 foot is from the deck to the shoulder and didn't go out. So I don't know if there's actually a change at all. It's just that he didn't, maybe setbacks.
Yeah,
aren't in his vocabulary.
typically people think their property line is at the edge of the road, and it's really not. And if you don't have a survey, we kind of estimate from the middle of the road in both directions, the town claims a right of way. And that's typically where your property line will be found. And it's a 50-foot wide right of way. So from the middle of the road, 25 feet towards your house, without a survey, we estimate that that's your front property line.
Okay, so that's the reason that we need now to approve the change in the setback. Is that correct?
That's not the
Well,
reason. That's the way it's done.
When you have a non-conforming structure like that doesn't meet the setbacks,
Mhm.
what's grandfathered, so to speak, is your footprint. So when the owner went from an at-grade concrete patio, which is a landscape element, to a deck that
Okay.
requires a building permit, that deck is now within both the front and the rear yard setbacks.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Now, whether that is a correct variance request, whether the variance request is correct or not, would depend upon two things. If the measurement from the deck to 25 feet from the center of the road, if that's 30 feet, then that's what you're requesting. And that's what we would be granting. In all cases, any subsequent survey, which would be exact, could possibly invalidate what we're doing, in which case a new variance would be required. But the zoning board does not require everyone to do an expensive survey, but
Thank you.
that's the risk.
I'm trying to sell, actually, so this is why I'm going through all this now. My lovely ex-husband did this. The 30-foot measurement is from the south side of the porch on the right, just the little porch, to the shoulder. That's 30 foot.
Time of the day was this photo taken? The south side is,
This is a long time ago, this photo, but nothing
Oh,
much has changed.
no, I'm trying to gauge the shadows. Was
Oh.
this taken in the late afternoon?
That looks like afternoon, yes, because
Okay, thank you.
What we need to know is what is the distance from your deck, which is in between the porches, to your front property line, which we're estimating to be 25 feet from the center of the road.
Herb, I worked with Ms. Hughes-Gee to get the numbers correct in the variance request. So I'm not sure that that needs to be.
You're comfortable with that, Tad?
I'm comfortable with the numbers that we came up with.
Okay, it didn't sound
I
that way
just
to
don't want
start.
to waste everybody's time, that's all.
That's all right. We got plenty of time. We work for nothing. Okay, do we have any other questions? Any more questions from the board?
No.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the Zoom waiting room that wishes to speak on this application?
We do not.
Okay. Have we received any public comments on this application?
No, we have not.
Okay. And do we have any further comments from the zoning officer?
No.
Any comments from our attorney?
I was going to briefly comment on why the variance is needed, but I think that got resolved. It's just that work is happening within the setback, even if it's not increasing. Plus, we want to approve what's there. Otherwise, my only comment is to say that this doesn't need to go to county planning and it does not require a secret review. It's type 2.
Exactly. Okay, I think we've come to a culmination of what we're going to do this evening. The public can see the detail of the application by examining the plans available at the town hall at the Planning and Zoning Office. The ZBA will accept public comments for 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Rich makes the motion and a second. Jim Agwell makes a second. And Linda, will you please poll the board?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes,
James Agrawal,
Yep.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes,
motion carried.
thank you. So the next step is at our next meeting, we expect to have a resolution. And that will be on December 9th. So that's as far as we're going to go this evening, and hope to see you then.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, now our next application is Floyd and Evelyn Holt, 11 Stoutenburg Drive, Hyde Park. This is a variance 1084.3 G2 to allow construction of a new driveway within the 100-foot stream corridor varying from 100 feet to 0 feet in the neighborhood district. The waterway is not a quote ditch as shown as the applicant's map, but instead is a tributary of the Crum Elbow Creek, a Class C stream, according to our zoning administrator. The stream is on the subdivision map, even though it is not shown on the DEC map. The house and septic field will not be in the stream corridor. Neither a site plan nor a special use permit will be required to grant this variance. The Dutchess County Department of Health requirements will be pursued separately with the applicant, as will the town's erosion and sediment control permit. On November 7th, Joe Berger escorted Brendan Lawler, Dave McNary, and myself on a site visit. We were able to see where the driveway was to be built, where the house was to be built, and where the wetland areas are. So may I have a motion to open the public hearing?
moved.
Dave McNary makes a motion, Brendan Lawler seconds. Linda, please poll the board.
Sorry, Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins, David McNary,
Yes,
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Is there a representative for the project present?
Yes, Joe Berger.
Okay, good evening, Joe.
Good evening, all.
So would you give us a brief refreshing on the project for our board?
Yes, about a 3.1 acre site off of Stoutenburg Drive. The lot is such that the only buildable area for a house is in the middle of the site because there happens to be a wetland in the front and a wetland in the rear. There also, by the wetland in the front, is the stream corridor. That is the subject of our hearing tonight. In order to get to the proposed house location in the middle of the site, as you can see on the map, we need to construct a driveway across the stream corridor to get to it. The proposed drive runs down at about a 3% grade, diagonally crossed through the site, crosses the stream, and back up to the other side on approximately a 6% slope. The fill in the area is between 2 feet and 7 feet. And we did a drainage study that evaluated the storms, and we're sizing it with a 42 by 29 inch arch pipe. We presented the stormwater plan to the town engineer for review. The culvert will pass the storms, and all the flow from the drive will go down to it. Snow would be a question during the winter, so our proposal, and we more than happy, and we plan on putting notes on the erosion control plan and any condition on the building permit that the snow will be plowed off to the side so that is not plowed into the stream for any blockage. The wetland, as I mentioned, are both federal wetlands. They're not state wetlands, so we're staying outside of them. We're going to protect the wetlands as well as any of the slopes with proper erosion control, which we is demonstrated on this plan, but will be reviewed by the town under the erosion control permit.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to make a few comments to bring the board up to speed on some of the fast-moving activity on this application. The Dutchess County Board of Health is concerned about the placement of the septic field and the in relationship to the stream and the wetlands, being as their last approval was in 1975, and they want to take a look to see if the world has changed since then. And I understand from Mr. Berger that he's going to meet with their representative on Thursday. And so that's in motion. And again, it's separate from what we're doing here. Not only is a variance required, but that's required as well, but neither one are on condition of the other. They're just separate approvals required. And I also understand from Mr. Berger that the water, electrical, and cable lines are going to be placed under the driveway. I was wondering about that. We hadn't seen that on the site plan. And just for everyone's edification, there's no property line setbacks required for driveways, and no federal wetland setback requirements for driveways either. So while we've all, hopefully all of us have been looking at all of these emails have been flying around, particularly today, maybe Mr. Berger might address some of the key points from Mr. Maddox's complaints. He's an adjacent property owner and has written in some detail about his concerns. So maybe you might be able to summarize that, Joe.
Okay. The latest memo we got this morning. Let's start here. Concerns of I'll just step through them. This is clearly not a simple driveway. I think actually it looks like a complicated driveway, but in my experience, it's not that complicated. It's a simple in the sense that we're keeping grades at 3% down and 6% up. It's 12 feet wide with 1 or 2 slopes that are going to be stabilized. Fill, it's 7 feet at the highest point, but down by the stream. We're only going 2 feet over the culvert. We're going to have erosion control during the entire time, and it's going to be inspected and certified by an engineer, myself, to make sure it's done properly. So it may, by visual look at it as it complicated, we're not ripping out any rock. We're filling. We're staying out of the wetlands, so there's no muck or any bad soil to excavate. We're going to fill. There's a minor clearing of the ditch while we put the culvert in, but very little, and then we're filling over top. And then on the other side of the stream, those of you walking in the field can see there's a little draw that the driveway will just drive pretty much straight up without much cut and fill at all. The major fill on the west side of the ditch is up around just for the driveway to get into the bottom of the house to cut down how much excavation around the house. That covers 1, 2, and 3. The toe of the fill, and the toe of the fill is the edge of the fill where the fill starts. It says is immediately on the property line. That's actually not totally correct in the sense that on the drawing, when we scale it, this closest point, which on the north property line is 2 feet away. But because of the angling of the driveway, the majority of the driveway and the fill is more like 7 to 10 feet away. There's just a small portion that's close to the north property line, but at least 2 feet away, sufficient for the fill to be placed without it going onto the adjoiner's property. The 100-foot driveway will be inside the property setback. There's no setback for driveways. We kept it as far away as possible. We're actually keeping it right where the existing driveway was started because it seemed to be a very good location. So we're keeping that, and that's the driveway. If those of you who went to the site, you can walk down. Close to 200 feet of driveway structure will be in the wetland setback. As I mentioned earlier, there is no setback, wetland setback for federal wetlands. We're staying far enough away not to impact the wetland, and during construction, we'll have adequate silt fence and other erosion control measures to protect it and to make sure, and it'll be inspected and monitored during construction. They suggest a pre-design investigation. I investigate the property pretty intensely before we start our design, including having a wetland biologist go out and flag the wetlands, having topography done, property line done, walking around, investigation where the septic was, discussions with the health department. So I feel we've done a great deal of investigation before we came to this board with the variance that's required. Selection of proper backfill material, that's not something for this board for the variance. It will be more for as we move forward, but we will be using select fill, good material that you don't typically use in driveway. Again, that will be inspected for its compaction and size, and then I'll be certifying to the town that the driveway was constructed of proper material and proper specifications prior to the town allowing it to be used. And that would include a 95% modified proper sloping to mobile. We feel a 1-on-2 slope for side slopes of a drive like this is more than enough. It doesn't have to be 1-on-10. It's a stabilized slope. It'll be stabilized with grass. Subsequent maintenance of erosion protection. As I mentioned, we're going to be having the erosion control is shown on sheet 2 with the details. That will be further shown in the erosion control and with the building permit, and that will be monitored, inspected, and made sure that it's properly maintained. Building site conditions that may jeopardize driveway. The building is uncertain due to restriction of wetlands, rippable rock, and heavily forest. We've located the house in a location. We looked at that when we were in the site walk, where the house we located would be minimal tree cutting, and so the trees that would be removed were not the greatest. We're staying in the center portion. As you get up there, walk around, it's actually pretty nice. It's away from the corridor, and the proposed septic system, sewage disposal system, or now we call it on-site wastewater treatment system, is away from both wetlands in an area that's allowed. So we feel that the location, it's not most of the site, but there is a sufficient area in the center of the site for both a modest house and the properly sized septic system. Having natural resources preserved. Well, we feel we are preserving the stream as much as possible, given the fact that the buildable area on this parcel is in the middle of the site, and the only way to get to it is to construct a driveway across it, and we picked the best location, in our opinion, to put it and to preserve the stream as much as possible, as well as the 2 wetlands. That's why we made sure we located them and have them flagged early on, so whatever we designed would be accurately depicted in the site that's out there. The soil classification is an asphalt cardigan. I agree. That's a typical soil found in Hyde Park in this area. It's a soil that is a slow perkable, but it is perkable. It's used quite often for on-site septic systems. And there is a high rock in there, and we would suspect that the rock there will probably be 4 feet deep, maybe 5 feet deep. And we'll have 2 to 3 foot fill pad when we get to the actual design, as are most of the systems in this general area of the town. Let's see. mentioned something about the building site conditions jeopardize driveways' future upkeep. I think the way I laid out the driveway is such, even though it appears to be a long driveway, is a 3% slope is not a difficult slope to maintain. And going back up on the backside is only a 6%, a little slightly steeper, but not drastic. Anything under 8% is typically okay. I like to try to keep it. That's why I kept it at 6%. And going up to the road, I made it 2% off the road and then down 3% toward the ditch. So it was a reasonable slope. And if we all the 12-foot wide driveway was a sufficient size, anything smaller than that would be, so 12 foot is like a lane of a road is typically 10 to 11 feet, slightly bigger than one lane in a road. They talk about the construction through the stream and the property setbacks. Again, I placed the driveway where I felt was the best location for it. Unfortunately, there's no way to not go through the corridor. If we went straight through to minimize the encroachment, it would actually increase the amount of site disturbance, because as looking at the contours, and those of you go out, please go out and look at it, you'll notice that going straight across, you're going straight into a larger hill, which would require a lot more cut and fill and ripping rocks, which in my opinion would cause more environmental degradation to the stream than cutting across it at an angle as I'm doing, which is using the natural topography of the site to minimize the amount of cut and fill and have a more gradual, and also a longer slope allows a lesser grade for the driveway. I think I've addressed all the concerns. I hope if I've missed any, please let me know.
Joe, comment on that. Can we get that back? You had fill in the front of the lot, but you stopped that. Right.
Yep.
What's the what do you intend to do with that? Is that going to change at all? Are you going to stop that fill?
That spill was done prior to this application. My client wasn't aware. So we're evaluating that. That's going to be just stabilized and kept there under the erosion control permit. It's not part of the corridor. We didn't show anything other than stabilizing. I do show a silt fence down at the base. And I've gotten in there that we're going to stabilize it as it is right now. But there's no intent in this application or in order to build the house to do anything other than stabilize that.
Okay.
Mr. Berger, Rich Perkins.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have two questions. One, the lowest point, in fact, the culvert was to get clogged somehow for any unknown reason, what is the lowest point that the water would go over? And is that lower than the property line where the stream is?
The elevation that the pre-elevation is actually at 221.8. Because we're making a bigger culvert to go through the stream, we're actually going to lower that elevation and allow more water to go at a lower elevation than currently does right now. So the elevation afterwards is 220.6. The elevation at the property line, let me pull it up and get it for you. It's the water does back up now onto the property because it's 216, 218.
Neil, can you zoom in on that a bit so we can see the numbers?
But that's the way it is right now. So the water does back up as it goes right now because this is a low area. So our intent was to lower that back up. And we did. We lowered it almost 0.4 of a foot.
So at the property line, it's about 218 or 220?
Let's see. I'm going to identify it on my computer. It's 216.
Yeah.
And then the driveway is going to be at about the lowest point.
217.
Okay.
Oh no, excuse me, 220. 220.
220. Okay.
But keep in mind though, again, as we ran the hydraulics, the water naturally backs up because of the size of the ditch or the stream is right now.
Yeah,
only can carry small flows. When you get the larger storms, it overflows. Therefore, why we have a wetland. Larger storms that come down through the stream overflow the banks and flow into that lower area, that's causing that wetland. What we're doing is the culvert we're putting in is not only big enough to pass up even the 100-year, but will provide a larger profile, allowing more water to go down. Right now at that location, the stream is smaller in cross section, thus causing, and I don't want to use the word causing because
okay,
it's not done on purpose, but the result of the current configuration of the stream is that the water backs up to an elevation of 221.8. After we build our culvert, that backup will be 220.6 because it
Excellent.
will lower the water for those larger storms.
my second question, I have a long driveway, and one of the problems I have is every once in a while, somebody's coming in the opposite direction.
That's true.
And
That's true, and that's
unless,
that's why
unless you were to back up all the way, I don't think 12 feet is enough.
well, where the location is and the driveway there, we're feeling that they can see it enough to not do that. If that's a concern, so we do not have an effect on the quarter, I can certainly place a landing pad up at the front. So a car coming in can quickly pull over while he sees the other one coming down. And I can make it equal. And I think the other one would be up by the house. They could certainly stay on that side there. I'm trying to minimize encroachment within the 100 feet, but the landing up
Okay.
by the road could easily be done without any additional encroachment in the 100 feet.
Okay, I
By
see what-
landing pad, you mean a pull-off area where a vehicle,
A pull-off would be a better way of describing it, yes.
no, it's not an airplane.
No, a pull-off is a good description. It's a long
Okay,
catch.
okay.
Yeah, if you weren't concerned about the encroachment, I would have put it in the middle.
The best place would be to put it down by, on the other side of the stream, right there at the 90 degree. And the other one would be right at the front, so you have two of them. So as someone's leaving the garage, they go, oops, someone's coming, let me pull over real fast.
Yes, before at the turn. Okay.
Yes, that would be the ideal place. I prefer not to unless the board would like to see that.
No, I'm just, I'm
As you know, the variance, I'm supposed to ask for the minimum requested, but putting the pull off up at the top would provide a certainly sanctuary for someone coming in without encroaching into the 100-foot. So I'd be more than happy to add that to the plan.
If you were to put it at the top, where's the room going to be if the banks go all the way up to the side property line?
I mean, right over where you see the 200-foot mark right there, I could certainly add one. There's plenty of room between that and the edge of road, and it'd be minimum fill I got to add.
I can't see what you're thinking about.
That's if you see where the stockpile there, you head to the right, move over to where you see 200.00 feet.
On the right side of the.
On the right side of the thing, right by the hatch.
I see the stockpile. I got a rough idea. You know, what would probably be a good idea is to put a modification into the drawing showing where these turnoffs or these pull-offs are going to be.
Not a problem.
Okay, good. Do. I have another question myself. Do you anticipate doing any blasting in particular for the foundation and as well as the driveway?
No, the driveway won't need one for the house. We're going to do some ripping. The cost of blasting versus the cost of ripping is astronomically different.
Now, what's ripping?
Ripping is with the hammer.
Got it.
Mechanical removal, hammering. Bring a large machine in and hammer out the rock. Or first we would try the ripping, which would be basically just a large machine pulling the rock. It's a friable shell up there, so you can pull the first foot to foot and a half out with just a large machine, and then after that we would just bring in a hammer and hammer it out.
So there'll be some some noise from the machinery while you're in the construction phase.
And it's very similar to the other sounds you hear during building a house, the hammering, the noise of the trucks backing up. And we would, during that house construction, we'd obey, obviously would work within the sound ordinance and the ordinances of the town that's requires. And luckily, it's pretty far back from most places there, but you would hear it during construction. There's no question.
Understand. Let's see. So, Neil, is there anyone from the public that would like to join in the conversation?
Yes, there is.
Okay, bring them in.
Good evening, Richard.
There he is.
There we are.
Okay. So you can address Mr. Berger directly if you like, Richard.
Very good. Thank you very much. Mr. Berger, thank you very much for the comprehensive discussion of the plan that's proposed. Number one, I'm not a geologist. Number two, I'm not an engineer. And I'm certainly not smart enough to be a lawyer. So all of this that I've been writing is just somebody with 50 years experience being exposed to this type of construction activity. Just issues that have been concerned to me there. So that's where this came from. A couple of points to that that I'd like to ask you. Where that ditch, quote unquote ditch, is located to the north of the culvert, have you gotten in there with a backhoe at all and seen the depth of the muck that you're going to find there?
I've walked it several times where we're proposing the driveway to go, and the driveway is pretty much on firm ground. And we're going to be going over, by going the diagonal, we're going over where there's actually a small rock knoll right there. And the zoning board members may remember, to avoid that rock, we actually went to the north, walked across the more softer soil that is being discussed, but we're avoiding that. We're staying down on the higher side.
Well, before we go to the rock outcrops, the bedrock rock outcrops that you just mentioned, there where the word ditch is, that's a natural low spot. I'll bet you dollars to donuts there, friend, that you get a backhoe in there and you're gonna be 4 or 5 foot deep before you get to anything.
I don't doubt that. That's why we're avoiding that area.
Well, I'm suggesting right where the culvert's going to be, you're going to, and where the backfill is going to be, you're going to run into that depth of muck there. But the backhoe will, the backhoe test will let you know what you're going to be running into. Also, there will undoubtedly be some, I'm guessing, again, I'm not a geologist, this is my opinion, that you're going to be running into some subterranean groundwater that you're going to have to be building on as well. Now, where you bring that driveway up into the house area, you're right, there's rock there. And thank goodness you're not thinking about blasting. Bless you, bless you. But you are certainly going to have some fun blasting out that rock. It is not rippable shale. There is rippable shale in that area, but I think you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of rock outcrop there to deal with. Similarly, you're probably going to have to, for the basement, I see here the finished floor elevation of the garage is, it's under the building. You're going to have to excavate a good 8 feet. And there's actually bedrock right close to the surface right there. So you're certainly going to have to be doing some pretty serious excavation. And then when you do your 3-to-1 slopes there on the north slide during construction activity, that's going to be kind of interesting in order to have a nice hazard-free protected place there 8 foot down. That'll be interesting to see how that works out. Another thing that comes to my mind, and I apologize for being so vociferous here, but for your wastewater treatment, on-site wastewater treatment system, when you are going out there tomorrow, you'll undoubtedly be taking a probe with you. If you, and I haven't done this, but I'll bet you put a probe in there, you're going to hit a good, hard, solid rock about 1 foot down. It might be 2 foot down, but I'll bet you dollars or donuts that you're going to be hitting some really good hard rock there to be dealing with as well. And I need to apologize to everyone, particularly you folks who have been reading my ink. When I looked at the zoning law in Hyde Park, there is an absolutely beautiful wetland set of in the code. I mean, it is beautiful. It should be commendable. I mean, it should be an example for other folks to. I did not realize that that had officially and legally been retracted from the code. I thought it was still a law that was in force. It's my mistake. I was trying to do my due diligence and I blew it on that point. I think that's about all I've really got to. So that's where all the wetlands, where all the setback issues that I came up with. I thought we were actually dealing with a wetland set of laws that had teeth in it. And apparently I blew it. I'm sorry.
Care to answer any of those comments, Joe?
Relevant to the house and the septic, those are issues we're going to be, if we actually, when we dig out there with the testing for the septic, if we hit rock that's too hard, we'll probably rethink the house to be in a slab and not a full basement, just enough for a car. That's one of the options. Those are things you do as you get that design. We showed the house location here as a probable location, so you can see where the house would go in order to design where the driveway was. The deep tests that were done earlier back in the 70s showed 4 feet deep to rock. It's possible. We thought it would be more like 3 based on others in this general area and the soils maps. But again, that's all speculation until we do our deep test, which are, we bring a backhoe out and we dig down as deep as we can, hopefully to get to 8 feet. Most likely we will not. And then the subsurface system will be designed based on not only the depth of rock, but the soil type, which will be a percolation test, and that will be the size. We put on the map here what is typical for this area in Hyde Park based on other systems done just down the road just this past year that we did. And also evaluation of data we found online in the soils maps. So yeah, the house and the septic will be explored as we do our deeps and perks. And as far as the driveway going down, we put it where we feel is the best. If there happens to be more muck in the stream area, as suggested, there are engineering practices that we do with geogrid and other things that we place down over top of the muck instead of removing it and then placing fill on top. That's very common with geotechnical engineering. The materials that we have at our disposal now for constructing a driveway are plentiful. So we would minimize, we certainly would not want to be disturbing a lot of area. And we'll be checking that out as we do our design for the house and the septic as well. But those are, the house and septic are separate from the stream corridor. So we're doing it on parallel track, but it's, as you're gonna consider, having the right to cross the stream corridor to investigate and to know that we can get a house is probably important, because if it's not granted, to expend all the time and money and effort, and it's not inexpensive to do those exploration design, would be money that was better spent elsewhere if we're not granted a variance. We are looking, as I'm meeting with the health department on Thursday, on a parallel track, but this going through the variance here is the first in a series of design elements that we need to have done before we finalize and go for a building permit.
So you could very well, assuming you received a variance, if you ran into rock a lot sooner than you expected when you're checking out the septic area, it could be a no-go.
Could certainly be.
Okay.
But more likely than not, I've spent the last 40 years of my career working on sites that are a lot more challenging than this, where we've removed the rock and we've built on top of 20, 30, 40, 50 feet of muck. So, and And more questioning would be not that it's a no-go, but the cost to remove the rock or to alter the design, but it's not, the site is challenging, but it's not a difficult site. It's certainly well within means and methods that we have to construct to be worked on.
Okay.
Mr. Sweet, would I be permitted another comment, or is it?
Why,
time to move on?
certainly, go right ahead.
What concerns me as much as anything else here is you're kind of shoehorned in two setbacks from two, the one's is corridor on one side and the wetlands on the other side.
Be a good idea to bring up the graphic again, Neil.
You're kind of shoehorned in there. As you start doing more exploration, I'm wondering how many more variances you're going to have to come in and ask for.
I'm not anticipating any, but I can't say that we won't, but we have plenty of the area we have in there. We certainly can move the septic system to the south. There's an area I have put the area of disturbance around what we are proposing. However, that area of disturbance can open up all the way to the south line down where you see North 655400. There's a very large area between where I'm testing for the septic to the south that could be used for on-site septic. And we can even explore that for a possible location for a house as well. We picked just one location because this is really an application for a stream corridor crossing as we move forward. But it is close with the setbacks, but it's not, I wouldn't define it as shoehorned. I would more define it as restrictive with sufficient areas to test more than what I show. So when I go out there and do deep test in my proposed OWTS area, I certainly can look to the south as well. And if that is such, we would then put the septic there instead. That's again, the area disturbance here is just to demonstrate what we propose for a stream corridor. This driveway would stay the same. The septic would just go to the south. The house would stay in the same location. We would just move the septic, which is again, outside of the 100 feet.
Is it conceivable that you'll be building the driveway before you have everything settled regarding the house and the septic?
I don't see that as being built before we know what we're doing. We certainly want to be able to get a backhoe over there, but I don't see us building the driveway before we know what we're doing with the house and septic. We're moving in a parallel track, but we're moving with the variance first while we move forward with the health department. We've been in discussions with them over the last month.
Yeah, it's like you said, sir, it's just a matter of money. You know, a septic system of one situation is, you know, a few $1,000s, and then you got the ones with the, you got before too long is $50,000, $100,000 in a septic system, and really, really difficult, but it's just a matter of money.
True. True.
Mere money.
Mere money. That's exactly right. Thank you very much for your patience, gentlemen, and Linda and Tad. Thank you very much. And I don't have anything further. Patty, did you have anything you wanted to discuss?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One other question brought up by, I understand, in a chat session from none other than my own spouse, who's asking whether the driveway will handle heavy trucks, as I assume it would have to for a fire engine.
Yes, it has to be designed to meet the weight of a fire truck.
And an oil delivery truck, I presume.
The oil truck's actually lighter, but yes, definitely oil truck. Oil truck is lighter than most fire trucks, but yes, we will be designing for the weight of a fire truck. And actually, we would the base of it would probably be designed for the heavy construction vehicles going to the back, so it would be much more sturdy than even for a fire truck because of that.
Okay, very good.
Hi, Barbara.
So do we have anyone else from the public that wishes to speak on this?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. So may ask our secretary, in addition to the comments of Mr. Maddox, have we received any other correspondence from the public?
No, we have not.
Okay, good. So any more questions from the board? Zoning officer?
Yes, Mr. Berger, approximately how long is the driveway?
Good question. I'll tell you in 30 seconds. I got the CAD drawing up. To the house, it's 400 feet.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions from our attorney?
And I could add that to the map, Ted.
Good idea.
There are just a couple of things I want to either point out or clarify. Joe, I saw that on I think I see on the revised sheet that the disturbance has gone from 0.7 to 0.9 with the redesign. Can you just confirm that the 0.9 is covering the entire project?
0.9 is covering the entire, and that was based on the relocation of the house and relocation of the OWTS to, we put a little more engineering time into it to find a location we felt. The first was just a sketching going across for the driveway. And then with discussions with Kathleen Moss and with Jason Teed, I developed the drawing to the next level, which was full driveway to the house with grading and the OWTS, and that resulted in a slight increase. And that was a very good question to have us do that to see if we were going over the acreage. And as you can see, I've actually been pretty liberal in the area of disturbance, especially on the north side, putting the area of disturbance further out than I even show grading, because I wanted to see what would happen if there was some stockpiles or some migration of material, which sometimes occurred during construction. My area of disturbance didn't come right up against the total slope. So, and I want to see what would, if I added areas where you're gonna have to park a truck, put some material down, what would that come to? And it came to 0.9 acres, and we have 1,155 cubic yards of fill estimated to complete the job.
Right. My second question was just that if you were to place a cool-off area on the site, I imagine it would be within one of these areas that is already being disturbed. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. It's over toward the what I call is the checked area, which is the construction entrance off to the left. If you're looking at it, it's inside an area it's already disturbed. I included the area of disturbance to include that area that was previously disturbed, which is the fill along the front. So I add that into this because I felt that was an area of disturbance that should be included within it per the DEC definition of area of disturbance. So the pull off would be in that area that was previously disturbed.
All right. And then my final comment is just a general point that, you know, as one of the commenters said, you are working within a pretty tight area. And as you know, if you have to redesign, it may end up requiring you to get a variance in the future. I'm sure you are very aware of that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's just something we're all going to have to be aware of, that this project is probably going to evolve, but we hope that the disturbance to the stream corridor is not going to be changing at all, so that you don't have to come back to us.
You're absolutely correct. I can't guarantee anything. I think I put enough thought into it to minimize that from happening, showing my area disturbance into areas where I thought would give me enough flexibility as anything changes, especially, but I can't guarantee anything, but I think I've given it a pretty good first look, actually first, second, and third look already to minimize that from happening.
All right, that's it for me.
Okay, just a couple other comments that one of the things that we have to be concerned with is what the minimum variance is. It's a statutory requirement. And I think in the discussion, it's been pretty well demonstrated that putting the house on the street side of the stream is not a practical option. So it's going to be where it's going to be, or it's not going to be at all. So I think we got that particular item covered. We may need to have some agreement or some stipulation or condition about maintaining the culvert so it doesn't get clogged. We can deal with that as we go along. And one other thing I want to say, that there's a lot of technical issues in this application that are beyond the understanding of us lay board members. And I've asked our town engineer to review all that has been submitted. A response is expected tomorrow. So we'll need to continue the public hearing until the next meeting, which is only 3 weeks away. Also, being as we've discussed amending the plan to show the pull-off areas, the sooner you can get that information to Pete Sotero, the more accurate his assessment is going to be. So the other thing I wanted to say is not much. Public can see the detail of the application by examining the plans, which are at the town hall and the planning and zoning office. The ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. So we're going to continue the public hearing until we get the blessing from Mr. Sotero, which we will just have to see.
Mr. Chairman, one comment you mentioned on the arch of the culvert. In talking with Joe on the site visit, it was my understanding that the arch culvert gives significantly more volume at a lower height for passing water through, as opposed to the normal round culverts. Is that, Joe, am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And it also provides, and this is, I have to thank Mr. Sotero for suggesting it, a arch culvert gives a wider opening, which means it will be less likely to clog than what my first proposal was, 230 inches. And that was a very well thought out suggestion, and we accepted it immediately because it will provide not just a lower profile, but a less chance for clogging, because sticks that will go through a arch pipe easier than a 30-inch culvert pipes, where you visualize that stick could hit the center and start backing up. So we made that modification early on.
Would you put that on the map, Joe?
It's on there.
It's on there already?
Yeah, the culvert's on there. We made that modification right off the bat.
Okay, good, very good.
We accepted that immediately as when Peter called me on it. And it was a great suggestion, so we didn't hesitate to make the change that morning.
Okay, good. Okay, I think we've reached as much as we're going to do this evening. So may I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
David McNary moves, Rich Perkins seconds. Linda, please take a poll of the board members.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yep.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. See you on December 9th.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Night, Joe.
Next application is Howard Minzer, 26 Mountain View Road, Statsburg, New York. There's a variance in 108-4.3G2 to allow for physical improvements within the stream corridor, changing from 100 feet to 0 feet for pond improvements in the neighborhood, tax ID to that, and stream crossing on a new driveway between tax ID to D in the neighborhood district and tax ID to Da in the Greenbelt district. I'm skipping the numbers. You can all read them later. The site has just to recap, the site has a pond near the Indian Kill, which is a Class C stream which flows south. The pond receives overflow from the Indian Kill, but is often stagnant. Improvements will be made to rectify that and extend the pond to the south, with the overflow then discharging further downstream back into the Indian Kill. A driveway will be built to access the pond and will be routed around the proposed southern extension of the pond. A second driveway will be built to access the owner's 20-acre property to the rear. It's a flagged lot, and the entrance portion will not easily support a driveway. 3 48-inch culverts are planned for the southern driveway to cross the stream. It may be necessary to condition any variance to establish relations between the two parcels with a driveway right-of-way and maintenance agreement for the driveway and culvert. So may I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Make the motion.
Jim Agrawal makes the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Brendan Lawless seconds. And you don't get a vote, Ted. Stop smiling. Linda, will you poll the board?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes,
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. So we have Mr. Andros with us this evening, I believe. He was here earlier.
Yep,
There he is. Now we can see you again.
okay.
So you want to give us an update on the project?
Well, I think your description is pretty much the update. We're here for the variance so that we can move forward with our other permit applications. We're going to need a floodplain development permit from the town and also an erosion and sediment control permit from the town. Going to have to get coverage under nationwide Army Corps of Engineers nationwide permit 29, which I'm about ready to submit. But other than that, I don't think I have anything else to update on beyond what we talked about at the last meeting.
Mr. Anders, I'm concerned about the road, the north road around the small pond. You've changed the configuration of that road. It used to go up between the two ponds. And I have two questions. Why now are you changing it to go south and up to the east side? And second, why do you need so much road to go in there to maintain the ponds? Couldn't it just end before you get to the west side of the pond?
Hang on a second. Let me pull this up. Let's see here. Which one is it? This one. Okay. All right. So now, originally the last meeting we were.
You want to use the share screen?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, good. You're so good at it. I didn't ask our webmaster to do it for you.
Let's see, which one is it?
At the very bottom of your screen, you'll see share screen.
Yep.
That's the one.
This is it right here. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Originally, the purpose of the roadway originally was to get over to this side of the pond area for maintenance, and also in order to maintain the inlet that we're going to be putting in to provide flow into the pond. And what I did was I've revised the location of this, which basically reduces the amount of disturbance within the corridor area. So that to answer the question, it basically reduces the amount of disturbance within the stream corridor. If you look at the other plan, with the road going between the two sections of the pond, this section right here was farther south, and the regrading required went farther south, so it would be more disturbance. So that's the answer to that question.
Okay.
Okay. Let me catch up with where we are here. So, is there anyone else in the Zoom waiting room that wants to speak on this application, Neil?
No, there's not.
Okay, Linda, have we received any correspondence from the public?
No, we did not.
Okay, so let me continue. Any more questions from the board?
Did-
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, a question, Mr. Anders, the agreement on the right of way of the South Road, has that been completed?
No, actually, the attorney has been away, and with the shortened time period between the last meeting and this public hearing,
Okay.
he hasn't been able to complete that. I remember at the last meeting, I believe the attorney for the ZBA said, "Hey, you know, we could condition, we could condition on the receipt of that."
Right.
And I've been working on it. I've had the surveyor do the description of the center line of the easement, and as Mr. Sweet pointed out, there's another little item that's got to be taken care of, which had escaped me, and that is the outlet pipe that's proposed that goes across the property line to the other lot, the larger lot, and so we'll have to deal with that also as part of the easement, for the project. So we'll really have two things. We'll have the roadway, and then we will also have an easement for that pipe.
Okay. Okay.
And just as soon as I can free up some time with the attorney, we'll deal with it and get a submittal into Mr. Logan.
If you find a secret way to speed up the lawyers, would you share
Yes,
that?
it's a glacial pace a lot of times.
Okay.
Measured twice, cut once.
Yes.
I get it.
We must maintain decorum in legal proceedings.
Mr. Andros, I have one question about the right of way as it crosses the stream.
Yeah.
Are you going to be putting a driveway in at this point or anything of that nature?
I'm sorry?
Are you putting the driveway in where the right of way is for the driveway that's going to the other lot?
No, what's going to be there are basically two sections to this easement for access to the 20-acre parcel. And it's not shown, but you have to come into the site, the existing driveway from Mountain View Road. So that's part of the easement. And then when you get to the end of the existing driveway, we have the rest of the easement, which is a proposed one, all the way over to the property line for the back lot. And the intent there is to provide for the construction of that remaining part of the driveway across the Mincer lot. I'm going to say the front lot. At a later date. We just want to get the stream crossing in. As I said before, we don't want to come back. We don't want to come back for variances. As much as I enjoy this, there's a limit. There's a limit to it all.
My question was, you are going across the stream at that point.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
And about how high is that going to be in relationship? Yeah, in other words, if it were to clog, how far back would the water be backed up?
Oh, how far will the water back up?
In other words,
oh, okay.
If it were to clog and fill all the way to the top of the road,
Yeah.
How far back would it go?
It would, just to the property line, the north property line.
Okay, so
Right over here, right in here. Because that was the limit that I set for the design of this crossing for the 100-year storm, which would be just like what you're talking about,
Okay.
the thing plugging up.
So the Indian Creek Lane that's north of there would not be impacted at all.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we also, and also just to put a point on this, the vertical alignment of that driveway is such that if this did back up, it would come over the driveway.
Right, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
There, just one thing on that, on those, I see you have 3 40-inch pipes there.
48.
48. Have you considered an arch culvert there?
Well, actually, now that you mention it, we need to get a nationwide 29 permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. It's not a permit, it's coverage under the nationwide 29. And the Army Corps of Engineers requirement has, it's quite detailed. And what might end up happening here is we may end up, because of the calculations that I've done actually this week, we may end up using one concrete box culvert.
Right.
Which will be, I've sized it. I won't get into the details of how I came up with this, but believe me, it was significantly difficult. 9 feet wide,
Mm-hmm.
And 4 feet high.
Right.
So to go back to Mr. Perkins' question, the probability of that plugging up,
Right.
the only thing that's going to plug it up are the beavers.
Well, that's great because the box goes up one from the arch.
Yeah.
You're expanding it more. Okay.
One box culvert instead.
Patrick, if the plans for the 3 48-inch culverts are replaced with this larger 9-foot wide, 4-foot high box culvert, is it necessary to be, would be nice, but is it necessary to be anointed onto the map before we approve any variance?
I would definitely like to see that reflected in the map that we approve, but the actual impact of the variance on the stream corridor would be virtually the same. It might actually be less impactful on the stream.
Correct.
But yeah, long answer, yes, I'd like to see that reflected in the map.
Yeah.
Can you just put it in as an option?
Yep. No, that's not a problem. I'm far enough along on it that I could.
Good.
Okay, very good. Any other board comments?
No.
Okay. So let's see, we've gotten comments from the attorney, I think from the zoning officer. Anybody I've skipped? Speak? Yes, go ahead, right ahead, Ted.
Zoning officer. Mr. Andros, have you considered the length of this access way and whether or not there's going to be any turnoffs required? And could you avoid the corridor if you needed to create a turnoff?
When you say a turn, oh, you mean for fire trucks? Or
yeah. They asked for
well,
that.
it's funny because when I was listening to the prior public hearing, and I knew that was going to come up, this one. And I would have to say that there's nothing proposed on the other side of that corridor. And I would say that by having that roadway there, the fire trucks are going to have a heck of a lot easier job to cross the Indian Kill if there's like a brush fire or something over in that area than they are now. So I don't think the issue of a turnoff is really pertinent. But to answer your question directly, Well, yeah, we could put the turnoff in outside of the stream corridor.
That's what I'm looking for, is that segment of the driveway so long that one will be created within the corridor?
No,
Okay,
nope,
Okay.
'cause I don't care if you put them outside the corridor.
outside the corridor.
Okay,
Yeah, which brings to mind the previous discussion. What happens if you're driving down this driveway and you see another car coming at you in the opposite direction? We're talking about pull-off areas rather than everybody having to back up or something crazy like that. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, right now, we're not proposing anything that's going to require any two-way traffic, but as I stated just now to the zoning administrator, certainly there's enough room to put one in at a future date for to allow passage of vehicles traveling in the opposite direction. Right now, I'm just trying to get this stream corridor thing behind us so that we can just do our project.
Got it. Okay. Well, my final comment is that there are a lot of technical issues in the application that are beyond understanding of us lay board members. And I've asked our town engineer to review all that has been submitted. So we will need to continue this public hearing until that has been accomplished, hopefully by the next meeting, which is only 3 weeks away. The public can see the details of the application by examining the plans, which are at the town hall at the Planning and Zoning Office. The ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. So may I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
Herb, I make a motion to continue the public hearing.
And
I'll
Rich-
second it.
Rich
McNary.
makes a motion, Dave seconds. Linda, please poll the board.
Did you say Dave McNary seconded?
Yes.
Thank you. Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes, indeed. Okay, well, we'll see.
When is
you
that? When is that going to be? When's the next?
The
December,
9th,
ZBA?
December 9th.
December 9th.
The 9th, okay.
Yeah, we changed the meeting dates in November, December because of the holidays. That was,
Okay. All right,
okay.
thank you.
All right, so we'll see you then.
Yep, and I'll hopefully we'll get this easement thing done by then.
Lawyers.
Thank you and have a good evening.
Why do they call them easements?
night.
Why do they call them
night.
easements
When
Yeah.
they're so hard.
when they're not so easy?
That's right. No ease.
Okay, moving along, we have one final application. That is Robert and Rachel Bramer, 223 Mills Cross Road, Statsburg.
There she is.
And
Good
this
evening.
is
Hello.
a variance from section 108-33.4, changing the side yard setback from 25 feet to 16 feet for construction, for an addition in the Greenbelt District. I see we have Mrs. Bramer here. And so let me start by asking you to give us a description of your project.
Sure. We have a deck on the back of our house and we want to take that existing deck and basically enclose it and make an addition there.
Okay. So, and you need a sideline variance, and I believe that's 16 feet if I recall.
I think it's 18.
Yeah, we had to
Oh,
had to consider the overhang.
okay.
Little technical detail in the way business is done. So I understand that. Do we have any questions from the board?
I do. Ms. Bramer, I looked at your property today. That addition, the window, the side that faces your neighbor to the east, will that have windows or will that be a solid wall there?
That'll have windows.
That'll have windows. Okay, so you'll be I know there's some space between you and your neighbor there. You have a very unusual lot in terms of the triangular part of that. Okay. And your deck will be on the inside or toward the, would be the west, I guess. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
Okay. How big is that addition?
16 by 16.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay, any other board questions? Okay, any comments from the zoning officer
No, not on
Sure.
this application.
and the attorney?
Nope.
Okay, very good. Fast approaching the end of the meeting. The public can see the detail of this application by examining the plans, which are the town hall, the planning and zoning office. The ZBA will accept public comments until 10 days following the close of the public hearing. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. So may I have a motion to set the public hearing for December 9th?
Jim Agrawal.
Jim Magwell makes the motion.
Second.
Second. Dave
McNary.
McNary seconds. And Linda, please poll the board.
Is it Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Robert Sweet.
Yes. So just to bring Mrs. Bramer up to speed, what will happen next is we'll have a public hearing on December 9th, be advertised in the legal notices. The neighbors will be notified. And this will all be thrashed out then. If no issues or problems arise, so we'd be able to close the public hearing. And then at the next meeting, which will be January 28th, we'd be able to entertain a resolution. And so that's the process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, so we will see you on December 9th.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Right. And we have one item for other business, and that's to establish our meeting schedule for 2021. Been plenty of email on that, so shouldn't be any surprises me telling you that in November and December, we make accommodations for the holidays, assuming that we're living in a normal world, but who knows? At any rate, just to allow for the possibilities that we might be able to actually behave normally next year. For November, we're planning on the Thursday, the 18th, December, Thursday, the 16th. And I haven't heard anything in correspondence from anybody that they have a problem with that. That doesn't count, Jim. Okay, so may I have a motion to accept the proposed calendar for next year?
Make a motion.
Brenda makes a motion. Second,
Second.
and Dave seconds the motion. And Linda, would you poll the board?
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
Agrawal,
Yes.
Robert Sweet.
Yes. Okay, we have a calendar. Do we have any further business? Oh, the silence is overwhelming. We
Stay
made
healthy
it.
for Thanksgiving.
We made it through another exciting zoning meeting, and I think it was exciting at times, especially for me. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a
No,
motion.
we don't want to do that.
Let's hear that again. Who's making the motion?
Brendan.
Brendan is.
Brendan's making the motion. And who is seconding the motion?
Jim will.
Jim's seconding it with two hands. Okay, secretary, please poll the board.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
David McNary,
Reluctantly, yes.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Robert Sweet.
Yes, Dave loves it here. He's probably the type that would want to re-up in the Army, right, Dave?
There you go. There you go. No, I didn't do that.
No, I didn't either. I claim that when I was a private in the Army, that what I wanted to be the most was a civilian. So on that note, good night. Good night to all of you folks.
Good night, everybody.
Everybody have a good
Neil.
Great
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving and a healthy one.